Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to the 41st episode of the 3 a.m. Knitter podcast. My name is Anne and I am the 3 a.m. Knitter. Welcome. If this is your first time here, I'm so happy you're checking me out. If you would like to, please feel free to subscribe, like the video. It helps me get the podcast out there, so I would be ever so grateful if you would do that. And of course, if you are a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. I appreciate you. All right, let's jump right in. All of my contact information is down below in the description box. You'll find my email there, the website, all of my socials, and feel free to DM me on Instagram or Facebook, or send me an email if you'd like to. I think that if you pop over to the website as well, there's a contact me section right at the bottom of the front page of the website. You can write me a quick note there if you like, but there's lots of ways to get a hold of me. If you'd like to send me a card in the mail, you can do that as well. My Canada Post mailing address is down below for your convenience. Okay, so that's kind of it for the housekeeping. One final thing before we dive into today's content is the Nordic mixed sweater Cal. So I'm hoping that everybody has gotten either finished or as far as you possibly can be in your knitting. Listen, you don't have to have the sweater finished, all right? I got sidelined. I know a couple of other people who have messaged me. They got sidelined with stuff and things, you know, but you are making progress. I'm making progress too. Now, a couple of people have finished and oh my gosh, those sweaters are beautiful. So even if you're not finished yet, don't despair. Get an update picture into the Ravelry thread because I'm going to do a drawing before the next podcast episode, so in 2 weeks, for the winner of a prize. And I wanted to show you the prize to entice you to get your progress or finished pictures up onto the Ravelry thread. So here is the beautiful prize that I'm just trying to, there you go. So I have this beautiful bracelet, which is not just a bracelet. I'm going to show you. So I have one of these. So this is a custom piece designed by the lovely Alana of Mable Rose here in Nova Scotia. She's down Halifax way. She designed this wonderful kind of quick measure bracelet. So as you can see, the one that I'm wearing has got this beautiful circle here, and you can see that there are 2 strands. Both of these strands are hooked on here with a lobster claw. So the shorter of the 2, this one right here, is just a very pretty bracelet. And then as you're knitting along, you can unclip the longer of the chains and it becomes a measuring gauge. So each one of these sections where you see the beads is 1 inch. And so you can very quickly measure your project. For instance, if you were knitting on a sock, you could, you knew that you wanted the leg of the sock to be, 4-ish inches, 4.5 inches before you are ready to turn your heel. You can just easily give her one of these and use the beads to measure your way. And then very quickly just wrap the chain back around, open up the lobster clip, and attach it back to your bracelet. So not only is it a beautiful little bracelet, it's also a handy dandy measuring tool for us knitters and crocheters, stitchers and sewers as well, I'm sure. So this is the prize, the quick measure bracelet that I will be sending out to one lucky person who participated in the knit along. Again, you do not have to be finished your sweater. You simply have to have posted a progress picture in the thread. Okay? Isn't that pretty? I don't know if you can see these beautiful emerald green beads. They're just, oh, they're so shiny. So that will be going to one lucky person. All right, and I'll announce that on the next podcast episode in a couple of weeks. Okay, let's dive in. What am I wearing? Of course, I'm wearing my Cersei sweater. You've seen this before. This is the sweater that I knit up using Frankie Gray Fibers DK in the black cherry colorway. That's, of course, this beautiful, that's a pretty good. You can see the variations, slight variations in the color. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. And then this was just white, or rather ecru DK that I had hanging around. So the pattern was fun to knit. As you know, or maybe you don't know, I use the two-handed Fair Isle technique. So my floats are, I generally don't carry floats any longer than 5 or 6 stitches. It's just my preference. So it's got a nice wide neck, as you can see, which is my jam. You know something? I love the look of a turtleneck. I do. I love it. But every time I wear one, I'm like claustrophobic and I'm clawing at my neck. And so this is what I like. Now, do I have to kind of make adjustments? Yes, I do. Sometimes if I wear like an undershirt or something underneath my sweater, which, believe me, in this yarn you don't need to, but if it's a little cooler and I wear a tank top or an undershirt underneath, you can see the straps. I'm not bothered by that. But this, this pattern is a great pattern. The fit is fabulous. Even, I could have tightened it up a little bit under the arms, but I'm not bothered by it. It is a beautiful Britain pattern. I'll link to it below, but I won't go through the Ravelry pictures because I've showed them to you before. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing, the Cersei sweater, C-I-R-C-E, Cersei sweater. Okay, finished objects. So I only have one finished object this time around, and that is the Autumn Alpine sweater by Caitlin Hunter. I don't actually have the sweater any longer because I did knit this as a sample knit for Lichen Lace in lovely yarn dyer in New Brunswick, which I'm sure you are familiar with. And of course, I've already shipped it off to them. That went to them at the beginning of October. But here's a picture of the finished sweater. I don't know how familiar you are with the pattern, but it is a amazing pattern. You can see the detail in the cuffs, same detail on the bottom of the sweater there. Sweater is slightly cropped, but it's got this beautiful, beautiful yoke. Oops. Disregard that photo, please. I went the wrong way. Oops, there we go. There's a closer picture of that. So 2 colors, although, you could certainly do it in, that yoke could be great in a variegated, I think. So I knit that in Lichen Lace, excuse me, Rustic Heather Sport in the birch colorway. That's the main colorway. And then the orangey red is their rose hip colorway. I don't have any of that left. I sent what was left of the skein back with the sweater. So that is, again, the Caitlin Hunter Autumn Alpine. Bear with me while I kind of zoom over to Ravelry here. Sport weight, 24 stitches, 32 rows for 10 centimeters in both the stockinette and the color work. 3.25 and 3.5 millimeter needles. There's lots of sizes. It is a paid for pattern, $9 US or $13.03 Canadian. It was not a difficult knit at all. And I'm quite certain if you are familiar with the pattern, you've seen the Ravelry page. So there are 735 projects on Ravelry. Here's one that I was talking about the difference. Oh, it looks like they used a whole bunch of different colorways, but it gives a really neat effect. Isn't that fun? So each section, and if you purchase the pattern and you take a look at the chart, you'll understand, you know, how easy it is to do that color change. That's fun. Yeah, that would be a great way to use up minis, right? Anyhow, that is my only finished object. I was on a timeline for that, so it kind of took up, you know, a lot of my knitting time in September to get that done because I had to have it out by the first week of October. So I'm happy to have that off the needles. The yarn, in the beginning, as I was knitting, I was a little bit concerned about the yarn. It was hurting my hands. It is, I mean, it's called rustic sport, right? So, but I must say that as I knit with it, it did soften up, and certainly after I blocked it, it was beautiful. It is a more rustic. It's certainly, you know, it's certainly not silk, right? It's a rustic sport. So it's got a bite to it, if you know what I mean. But it really is a lovely, the colors are so beautiful. And I'm going to show you some of the other colors in this, this yarn shortly. So that's it for finished objects. I do have another, that's not true, that's it for finished objects. But the other finished object that I have is an exclusive pattern that I have designed for my membership for the Circle. It is a cowl pattern. It's called the Circle Cowl. It is, well, it's finished, but it's not dry yet. So I was just recording an episode of the membership only podcast, and I was so excited to show them the pattern, but it's still damp. But just to give you an idea, this is an exclusive pattern for just members of the Circle. So if you'd like to join the membership, you'll get a copy of this pattern. This will not be released to the public. So it is a small cowl with circle motifs built into it. So, and I knit up this sample. I wish it was dry so I could put it on. I knit this up in a skein of Malabrigo Mecca in the Polar Morn colorway. Used about 2/3 of the skein. This is, I got this as out of a de-stash from the lovely fairy godfather from Matthew. So I was happy to use this on this special project for my membership. This is, it's a bulky weight, 119 meters, 100 grams. Superwash merino. So, so that technically is a finished object as well. It's just, it is only for members of the Circle. Sorry. So, but if you join the membership, you can get the pattern. It'll be being released to the membership on the 31st of the month. So, okay, so let's move on to some works in progress. So right now I am doing a commission knit for a lovely lady who I have actually never met in person. We've only talked on the phone and via text message. But a friend of my mom's was at Sisterhood Fibers in Truro, Nova Scotia one day, and she text messaged me and she said, Anne, she said, would you be interested in doing like a colorwork sweater for somebody? And I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, let me talk, you know, because can I give her your number and she can talk to you about it? And I said, sure. So this lady calls me from the store and asked if I would be interested in knitting a Lunenburg pullover for her daughter for Christmas. So I said, of course I would love to do that for you. So she purchased the kit and sent it out to me, and I have been knitting on that. So this is a design by Amy Christophers. I hope I said that right. Oh, isn't that awful? It's a pattern from October 2019. It is a paid for pattern, $10.14 Canadian or $7 US. It is, believe it or not, knit in Lichen Lace Rustic Heather Sport, which is what I just knit that sweater out of for them. It's a stranded yoke, colorwork yoke, and then regular body of a sweater. The pattern comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 sizes, from a 35-inch bust up to a 62-inch bust. It's knit on 3.75, 3.25 millimeter needles, or US 3 and 5. And this is the Ravelry picture. And this is the exact sweater colorway that I'm knitting. And I'll show you. So it is, I am enjoying it immensely. Let me just pull my needles a little bit because I don't want to lose stitches. So there is, I'm just about done the yoke, and then I'll be zooming through the body and the sleeves very quickly because it'll just be, you know, plain old knitting. This yoke is fun. The chart is fun. It's the first time that I've knit a yoke. I don't know if you can see here. It's got texture. It's got pearls in it, and the color changes are great. So again, this is being knit out of the Lichen Lace Rustic Heather Sport. So main color right here is, oh, sorry, I should have been better prepared. This is coal. And then, pardon me, we have the contrast colors here. So we've got the birch again. And then this is pollen. That yellow is pollen. Oops. And then we've got that green, which is shrub. And then this blue, it's kind of a blue-gray, and that is sky. So these are the yoke colors here, which are just so fun. And that goes against the dark coal. So I fell in love instantly with this yoke, with knitting this yoke, that I fell in love with it so much that I bought a kit for myself. So when I have some time after commission knitting is done and things like that, I will be knitting this again for me. So that is my current work in progress. Not the only thing I'm working on, but the main thing that I'm working on. And yeah, so I expect that I will have the yoke done this weekend, and then I really am going to endeavor to get the rest of the sweater done by the week after next. So I hope I have a finished object to show you in 2 weeks, because I'd like to get it in the mail and out to the lucky recipient ASAP. The other thing that I'm working on, I can't show you. I am working on a test knit behind the scenes for the lovely Margaret Holzman. Now, you may recognize her name as the designer of the Safe at Home blanket. This was, you know, big during the I'm not going to say it, you know what I mean, the pandemic. So I have this book from her that has all of these really fun patterns. I just love these patterns, that when I saw that she was starting to test new patterns, I asked if I could participate, and and she, of course, allowed me to, which was great. So I'm working on a project for her as well, along with, oh, I don't even know how many, but there's quite a few of us working on some patterns for her. So more about that at a later time when I'm allowed to actually show you that. So that's taking up a bit of my time. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk to you today about, you guys, I have fallen woefully behind on my 2024 Socks from Stash project. I've fallen woefully behind. So currently I have 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is awful, you guys. 4. I have 4 pairs done. I have a whole bunch of socks to knit to get caught up. So I'm going to endeavor to do that because I really want to complete this. Can I get the rest of the socks knit before the end of the year? Of course I can. I just have to do it, right? So I'm going to spend some time tomorrow putting together project bags so I have everything ready, and I'm just going to knit through them because sometimes, you know, when you're knitting sweaters and things like that, you need a little bit of a break, right? So that's my plan anyway, is to get caught up with that. All right. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that when I bought the kit for the Lunenburg sweater that I just showed you, I absolutely fell in love with another kit that they had, Lichen Lace had on their site, and it is the Artus Shawl. And so I promptly purchased the kit for this too. And when I looked at it, I mean, not only do I love the design, the colors just grabbed me, and I thought, oh, I just love this shawl. What I very quickly realized is they're the exact same colorways that I just bought for my sweater. So I will be knitting a lot of this Lichen Lace colorway. As a matter of fact, I have this box here full of the yarn, and it's the exact same colorway or color palette for both the sweater and the Artus Shawl. So technically I should be able to wear them together and they should match with no problem, right? Yeah. And then in the box that I received from Lichen Lace, I got this really cute little tin. Look at this little Notions tin. Isn't that the cutest little thing that they put in there for me? So I can throw some stitch markers in there, a little tape measure maybe, some candies. So yeah, so that's coming up next. Do I want to knit I think maybe I'll knit the shawl first because I would have just finished the commission knit, and then I'll go back and knit the sweater for myself. But anyway, we'll see what happens. All right. The next thing on my list to talk to you about is my LYS, Natural Ewe Yarns, is hosting, as they do, a new knit along. And if you are interested in participating, come and do it with me. It's going to be fun. So I just want to bring up, there it's called the Autumn Make Along. Starts next month, which is not that far off. So you can purchase yarn right from their website, and you need to have, you need to use their yarn, of course, I think, to be in the running for the prizes, but that doesn't preclude you from participating. So there's 4 patterns that are being included. So the first pattern is, what the heck happened here? All right, let's do it this way. Let's go back to Ravelry. All right, Ravelry, come on. Sorry, we've got the Darling socks. There we go. So the first pattern that can be considered is called the Darling slipper socks. So they're meant to be worn in the house. I guess you could wear them out. heel flap and gusset looks like. Look at that marl. Ooh, so pretty. So this is a pattern designed by one of the owners of Natural You, Jasmine Rammel. It looks like Aran weight. She used a couple fingering and lace weight, 20 stitches and 28 rows on 3.75. A twist on the ombre socks, Marling Darling, is a simple cuff down design with a heel flap and gusset, and you'll be using 3 strands of fingering weight held together with a strand of lace weight mohair throughout the project, creating a chunky weight sock great for slippers on cold winter nights. So that is option number 1. Pattern is only $4. So keep that in mind. Option number 2, which is, oh, come on now, see more. Option number 2 is a hat, and it is called Hat Squared. Don't worry if you forget the names of these. I will link them all down below for you. So this is a pattern by Cheryl Beckrich, and it's one of those kind of double layer hats, right? That you can use. Oh, that's fun. You can use 2 different colors. You can contrast them. I suppose you could do it all the same color too if you wanted to. Hat Squared is a 2-layer hat that's knit in a long tube that is folded so that one end nests inside the other. The hat is totally reversible. It can be knit in any weight and in any size, which makes it a great stash buster. It is a paid for pattern, $4.27 Canadian or $2.95 US. So that's pretty reasonable. The third pattern on the list is called the Slip Away Cowl. Slip Away Cowl. It's a mosaic cowl. So I actually was intrigued by this one. Because I've never done mosaic work. This is really lovely. I think that's a very, very pretty pattern. And this particular pattern is free. So that's a great option. And then there's some fingerless mitts. Let's get those brought up for you. I like the fingerless mitts a lot. Because I work at a computer all day, my hands get really cold. Oh, actually, sorry, let me make this full screen. So that's a nice pattern. And I like that you can use, look, they've used 5 different colors there and just faded them into each other. So that's one of the options. So those are the 4 knitted options. Then there are 2 crochet options. So if you felt like doing a wee bit of crochet, you could, oh, sorry. It is the Snow, there we go, Snow Mountain Hat is crochet option number 1. Snow Mountain Hat. There it is there. It's really cute. So a little bit of a slouch and like lots of color changes. You could use up some scraps. And then the final crochet option is called Abba's Sock Yarn Cowl. So there's lots of options here. They're not large projects. They can be done very quickly. And it's fun to knit together. let me just make this full screen for you so you can see it. I like this one. This is reminiscent of an older pattern. Geez, sorry about that. There you go. That's fun. So if you'd like to participate in the knit along, I will put the link down below and you can jump on board and join us. It'll be so much fun. Okay. I talked about all of that. All right. There's something that I wanted to address. Something that has been the cause of my delay in getting this episode up. So as you know, I try to get an episode up every couple of weeks, but at the beginning of October, in the last episode, somebody commented on one of the yarns, or the yarns that I talked about, and commented that I should be a little more careful in promoting yarns that are perhaps sourced unethically. And I was taken aback, to be honest. I was taken aback. I would never knowingly promote anything that was unethical or harmful to animals. And don't get me wrong, please. I don't disagree with the commenter's sentiment. However, I think that there is a way that we can discuss these things that is perhaps a little less hurtful. So I wanted to address this, and I wanted to talk about the yarn, because believe me, I did actually check this. And if it was unethical, I would not have promoted it. So all that to say, I wanted to share with you about the yarn. So I'm just looking for the information here. Sorry, bear with me. It was open, and of course it closed on my screen here, but all right. Let's go here. So, I guess, I did get taken aback by, as I say, by the comment. It made me feel like I was doing something wrong, and that I had, provided information about something that was horrible. And please know that I would never do that. And if at any time you have issue or take issue with anything that I talk about, I would please like you to let me know. But perhaps you could do that via a personal message or something like that. I will never, I'm talking about this now with you. So it's not that I want to hide it, or I want to, say that the person her point isn't valid, because believe me, her point is valid. I just think that there's a way that we can be kind about these things. So that being said, I'm sorry, I had this all up here, and of course now I can't find it. Anyway, the gist, I don't want to try and find all of the information again and hold up the podcast. So we're talking about the New Zealand possum yarn. I talked about a beautiful merino possum blend yarn that I had been gifted and won in a giveaway, and that the yarn was beautiful, etc., etc. And I talked about what project I was going to make with this yarn. And the issue is that possums in New Zealand, basically they've overrun New Zealand, and they're considered a pest. Now, not everybody feels that way, but they are considered a pest. And so what happens in that country is they get culled. And what producers are doing is from that, they're using the fiber to make yarn. Not just using the fiber to make yarn, but that is one of the products that is being made. These producers are not going out and killing a whole bunch of possums to make yarn. That's not the purpose. Like they're not just going out to kill the animal in order to make the yarn. There's a reason behind why the animals are being exterminated. And because they are being exterminated, because they are causing a great detriment to vegetation and to food and to other things in the country, they're finding a way to use the fiber as opposed to just letting it go to waste. Is it great? Perhaps not. Is it ethical? I would argue yes. But I also understand that we all have our own opinions about these things. And I am not at any time or in any way saying that your opinion, which may be different than mine, is wrong, because it's not. I choose to use these products because I feel comfortable with the explanation I've been given as to their origin. You may choose not to use the products, and that's okay. So I guess all of that to say to the person who commented about this, thank you for your input, because your points are very valid. However, I feel comfortable with my decision to use the product. I hope that makes sense. I do the podcast because I love it, and I love sharing with all of you. And this kind of threw me for a loop, and I don't want that to happen anymore. So let's agree that we all have our own personal opinions, and let's agree in the future that if I share something that you take offense to or you disagree with, that's okay, and you'll personally and privately reach out to me, and we can have a discussion about it. So I hope that that's okay. I don't want to censor people. I don't want to delete comments. I don't want to do that, because I don't believe that's right. But I think we can be kind when it comes to these kinds of things. So that's what I wanted to share. That's kind of what I've been mulling over the last few weeks when I was kind of delayed in getting the podcast out. I just didn't know how. I wasn't ready to kind of address the issue, because it really did bother me. So I hope that in the future we can carry on and be kind to one another in that way. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Let's jump into our Knitter's Oracle. All right, I grab my cards right here. Let me give them a little shuffle. All right. Anybody else getting really excited about being able to wear all your knits again? At least up here in Canada. It's like 5 degrees Celsius one morning. It was 3 this morning. And then it's, like not today, but then one day earlier last week, then it was 15 degrees Celsius. Like it just schizophrenic temperatures, let me tell you. Okay. Today's card. Oh, today's card is the moth. And I make that face because we don't like the moths. All right, so that is 36. So let's see what the moth brings us today. The dreaded moth. Much like finding a moth in your yarn stash, the moth card denotes suffering, despair, pain, and hardship. Oh. It can represent a burden you must bear, sorting and cleaning all that yarn. My friend Carrie knows all about that. Or sorrow of loss, your finest alpaca destined for the trash pile. Well, it's true that it's always darkest before dawn. This card does not have much of a bright side. Try to salvage some catharsis from the experience. If you're able, maybe even a hard lesson learned for the future. The moth. Yeah. Well, I talked an episode ago or so about, tidying up my craft room and rearranging things. And, truth be told, I've done zero of that so far. I did, however, make note of all of your suggestions, and there was some really good ones. So that's coming soon. My schedule has been crazy. So also, I don't know about you, but I have to sit with something for a bit before I actually action it. Anyway. So thinking about the moth kind of ties in with that, because how am I going to store my yarn? You can see here, I have it wide open. Is that smart? I don't know. I use this. This is my testing yarn. When I'm designing and doing things like that, I use that yarn there. So it gets used. I do have some stuff over on those shelves over there that perhaps I need to do a really good look at. I haven't seen any moths in my studio, which is, touch wood. But there it is, the dreaded moth. Denotes suffering, despair, pain, and hardship. Represent a burden I must bear. The burden is I need to clean this studio. I need to take stock of what I have in there and really, get it put away properly. So if I have a silk in there, if I have, an alpaca in there, actually I do have an alpaca in there, that it's put away properly if I'm not going to use it right away, so it doesn't go to waste. So anyhow, how do you store your yarns to ensure that you don't get that dreaded moth? Let me know. All right, my friends, listen, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. A little bit shorter one this time around, but in a couple of weeks, we'll have a couple of new things to talk about, so that will be great. I hope you've enjoyed your time with me today, and thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, I do appreciate you so much, and I'm so happy to share this time with you. So keep knitting. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.